Right then, YouTube, back where it all began. I've now owned this Ecosy stove for just coming up to 5 years. So I wanted to do a 5 yearly review because to me it's alright buying a product and it might be great for the first year, but you want to know how long it lasts. You know, if you buy it, you buy cheap, buy twice, some people say. You don't want to be doing that. But there's a difference between cheap and good value, and I believe this stove is not just cheap, I believe it's good value, because I genuinely think it's a decent quality stove for the money. So just to recap over the things I've done before, all the controls, they're all smooth, they're all still operating as they should be. There's no issues with anything like that at all. I've heard some of the cheaper stoves, the hinges, the pins in and wear out and the door drops and it gives a load of play in the door. There's a teeny tiny bit, but nothing to be concerned about there. Everything's still operating just as good as it should be. There's been no damage or cracks or anything on the item. I'll come back to that in a second. The rope's getting ready for replacement. It's getting a bit brittle and hard here, but that's a consumable part, so I've got no concerns in that. That could go on any item. I've changed a couple of the heat fire bricks in here. I bought those direct from Stove World. I think they were about £35. Let me just bring you in. I was a bit concerned about changing these because if you look down here, can we see that there? It's hard to see in the dark. There's one at the back. There's two M8 bolts at each side. So I believe they're stainless steel, and I was a bit concerned about trying to undo those to slide out the heat brick there. I was worried that the cast metal and the stainless steel, going through various heat cycles, they're going to heat and expand at different rates potentially and become bound in there. But actually they came out really easily, so there was no problems in dismantling that to get the bricks out for replacement. So what it was, a couple of those cracked, but again they're a consumable part and it could happen to any stove really. So having a look round and speaking to people, the most common failures I've heard of in stoves is where the top plate from the heat buckles. This is perhaps because I don't know if it's not made thick enough or not made of a decent enough material. So I've just got a straight edge here. Running it across there. That's fine. Still straight as a die, that is. But yeah, I spoke to someone who's this all warped and buckled through the heat, and then I think it might have cracked the welds under here, draws in air and the stove becomes useless. Also, I've heard of people where the grate has melted, which I find unreal, but I mean the grate in this is like, let's measure it. It's like 15mm thick, so what's that in inches? Half inch? It's about ½ inch thick. Again, there's no signs of it sagging or melting. The griddle in the middle still operates smoothly, and that's quite a tight fit in there. So you'd think if that was expanding and contracting, it could potentially, expand here and seize up, but it's still working just as it should be. And then the other thing people complained about, or not on this stove in particular, just common failures, is the glass yellowing up. This is still the original glass and looks fine to me. So all in all, generally I'm really pleased with this stove, so much so I bought its bigger brother, the 12.5 kilowatt I think one I've got for the back room. It just keeps working perfectly. I mean, you can spend thousands on a stove and that's fine, if that's good, but this one I really think is just a cracking value for money. You look at its equivalents, I looked at some in Machine Mart and they were really just not up to the standard of manufacture of this one, in my opinion. So yeah, I'm really pleased with it. I generally can't fault it. Stove World have been good to me. I'm not sponsored or have any kind of affiliation with them. They were just decent to deal with. So anyway, one thing I have been asked for in many of the comments, and thank you for all your comments and subscribers, thank you very much, is to see it running. So with the magic of YouTube, and there you go, by the magic of YouTube, the fire is lit. I'm currently burning a mixture of ash and beech offcuts, and I believe this is actually beech hedge as well that's been cut down. So let's chuck them on. Always use your glove, these parts can still get very hot. Right, we've got the primary, secondary, and hope you can see this one down at the bottom, tertiary air controls. Okay, so the primary one has actually got a minus to positive scale on it, and the more you open this up, you'll see the difference. The more air it lets in, and basically the flames increase because there's more air, more oxygen to mix with. This means it gets really hot. You need to adjust a mixture of your controls due to how quickly you want everything to burn. You don't want everything to burn off so fast that all the heat shoots up the chimney. You want to keep maintain a nice temperature, yet still ensure everything's combusting properly. That will depend on the fuel you're using, how windy it is outside, because that affects your draw in the chimney, length, size of your chimney, all things like that. So it's a bit of a tuning act, you know, tuning the different ones. I need to turn that down now, it's getting really warm in here. So yeah, that's the primary, that's the main one. Generally, if you remember, this one's a DEFRA approved, so the secondary air can only be closed to halfway. It always allows some air through. So put that to full, that's a secondary air, so that's also the air wash system, so that brings the air down across the glass panel at the front on the inside, which reduces smoke, carbon, ash build up on the glass, so it always looks nice and clear. And then the final one, and I usually have this open fully all the time, which is pulled back, it slides in and out, is the tertiary control. And if you look real closely, it's difficult to see when the fire is lit, but if you look at the very back plate, oh, it's really hard to see in the camera, there's let me turn this down, there's a bunch of holes running along the back plate. Maybe you can just see where my finger is here, with fire coming out towards us. So what that does, it mixes air in there, and any wood gas and such like that is escaping and would go up the chimney, it ignites that. That gives us excellent efficiency and reduced pollution. So I'll just show you the difference. So we'll close them all up, and that's basically smothering the fire where it is now. That's like the lowest setting it can go to. Probably not the cleanest burn, because there's not enough oxygen there to be burning everything. But with this decent, you know, fully dried, fully seasoned wood, I can get away with just having the tertiary open all the way, and the secondary one halfway, which is as far as closed as it will go on the DEFRA approved one. And I've got enough air in there. We'll just crank everything up to full just to show you how it can really go. See how much brighter that flame is getting. I mean, that'll go through your fuel in no time though. I don't think it's good practice to be running your stove at full power constantly. You'll be forever filling it up. And it gets really warm in here. And you'll notice on the top, or you may have or may not, I've got a stove kettle boiling some hot water for some cups of tea, and I've got the LD fan running. Now, I'm sure folks are going to ask me, does the LD fan work? Does it work then that it converts heat to electricity to kinetic energy to turn the fan blades and blow warmth about? Yes, it does. You can see it doing it. Does it work in, will it heat the room faster? Hard to say scientifically. I mean, to do that scientifically and fairly, I'd have to have a known quantity of fuel. I'd have to regulate the outside temperature. It'll be almost impossible in a home environment, not a scientific environment, to do fairly. So, what I'm going to say is, I can only give anecdotal evidence about it working. I have noticed when I walk past a stove and the fan's going, the blast of warm air coming from it is much greater than it would be on a stove alone. So that will suggest if it's circulating the air around the room / house better, the house is going to heat up greater. That's as far as I can go into it without testing it in lab environments, which I don't have. My opinion, I'd have one, yes, but I wouldn't spend a load of money on it. Anyway, I'll let you enjoy the fire for a bit more. Well, I'll make a cup of tea. Cheers.